let's have some fun, Myles, shall we, with the gentleman who hijacked the entire 2021 draft. Start to finish, he hovers over it, holding his cocktail glass, either with scotch or tequila, depending upon his mood, either neat or on the rocks, maybe with a stone or two, Aaron Rodgers. And it happened so fast yesterday. It really did. And it does feel to me, I'm curious to get your take on this. It felt orchestrated to me. Did it feel orchestrated to you?
Well, I think it did, if for no other reason, because Aaron Rodgers doesn't do anything by accident. All right, when he started talking about, oh, my future is a beautiful mystery, that wasn't an accident. When he's, come out and said these different things that, my future here is not up to me. Those are things that he says that I believe are very calculated. Look, it's very calculated, and you've been pointing this out all the time, like that he is really going hard after being the Jeopardy host to replace Alex Trebek. So Aaron Rodgers doesn't seem like the kind of guy that would do anything by accident, that would leak anything by accident. So, yeah, I mean, whether the timing happened to be because it was basically the first year anniversary of the Packers trading up for Jordan Love and basically starting that clock for Aaron Rodgers' time in Green Bay to run out, maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know. But it just certainly seemed to me that, yes, there is some sort of calculation going on here for why all of this stuff is now coming out about Aaron Rodgers.
And it's not all that difficult to figure out what his plan is, if it indeed was planned, and I think we both agree that it was. You give the Packers until the draft to do what? To take care of his contract in a way that would provide him with the kind of security that he doesn't currently have. The Packers have been trying to preserve the year-to-year existence with Aaron Rodgers. If he slips, we go to Jordan Love. We trade him, we go to Jordan Love. We have that power. We're going to use it, and we used it in 2020, and it motivated Aaron Rodgers to become the league MVP. Maybe next year it'll motivate him to become the Super Bowl MVP again. Let's continue to dangle the carrot while we also hover with the stick, and we get him in that sweet spot where he's mad enough to play great, but he's not so mad that he comes in and he starts throwing things and creating a fuss and wanting out. Well, the problem is they pushed it too far, because now that he doesn't have the kind of contract that gives him the certainty, and also I remember when Donovan McNabb was benched in 2008, there was a report after that season that he wanted a financial apology from the Philadelphia Eagles for what they had done in benching him for Kevin Kolb in a late season game against the Baltimore Ravens. And I feel like for Rodgers, Myles, the contract isn't the root cause of his dissatisfaction. It's a symptom of it. And it's a path to a cure, because through a new contract, they can show him the respect and also create a situation where they are bound to him by the way the contract is structured. Fully guaranteed payments over 2 or 3 years, for example. Cap charges that would make a trade impossible to accomplish. Almost put them in a position where they'd have to flip Jordan Love like the Patriots had to flip Jimmy Garoppolo. And that's kind of where it is right now, where the contract effort fell apart, and now it's, I want out. And we haven't heard from Aaron Rodgers. We have heard from Brian Gutekunst. Surprise, surprise. Football team says we're not going to trade a guy. How many times have we heard a guy from a football team say we're not going to trade a guy, and how many times do they turn around and trade the guy after they say they're not going to trade the guy?
Almost 100% of the time, I feel like that's what happens, right? Like
that's almost the precursor to the trade. Yeah. We're not going to trade him. That's one of the boxes you check.
Yes. I remember saying Les Snead when, like, 2015, deleting Sam Bradford's not the answer. 2 weeks later, they trade him for Nick Foles, right? Dave Gettleman saying we didn't just sign Odell Beckham Jr. to trade him away. And what do? They trade him to the Cleveland Browns. So, yeah, it usually does seem like the precursor to the trade. But I think the interesting thing about this is, if you're talking about Aaron Rodgers and feeling disrespected, it's basically like the Packers made a bet, right? And, they were trying to get Rodgers in the sweet spot or whatever it is. But they also were basically betting that either Rodgers is going to be transcendent, maybe, and he'll help us win the Super Bowl this year, or, and this is what we probably feel is more likely, he's going to continue to decline. because they sort of thought that he was declining in that first year with Matt LaFleur. Now, I don't necessarily get that. I mean, it's not like they didn't make the NFC Championship game. Did they play all that well in the NFC Championship game? No, but San Francisco was really, really good in 2019. So you make that trade up. You get Jordan Love. And I think you're basically betting, hey, Rodgers is going to continue to show that he's falling off, and we are justified in then saying, yeah, Jordan Love is going to be our guy, because you guys can all see that we're justified in getting rid of Aaron Rodgers in some way, shape, or form. That bet has totally backfired, because now, I mean, Aaron Rodgers just won the MVP. They were a true blue Super Bowl contender. And for whatever reason, they weren't able to get things done in that NFC Championship game against Tampa Bay. Fine. But you still have a team that has been to back-to-back NFC Championship games, and you've still got Aaron Rodgers. And I think it makes a ton of sense for Rodgers to not feel loved, if that's the way we want to go about saying it, because he has clearly continued to elevate this team. And Mike, I thought you made a good point in something you wrote today, that Rodgers is the most important person in the organization because they don't have an owner. So if he's the most important person in the organization, they need to start acting like it.
And that's the fundamental nature of the impasse here. One of the things I'm going to write later tonight during rounds 2 and 3, so I'll manage to stay awake for the full 4+ hours. And I talked to a GM about this yesterday, and this concept has been out there. This isn't anything revolutionary, but the idea that football players are starting to act like NBA players, where they're in control of their careers, they're in control of their futures, regardless of what their contracts say. And that butts up against the old school football guy mentality of, you play for us, you just work here. You don't tell us what to do. We tell you what to do. You signed a contract, honor your contract. You have no leverage. We have the leverage. Play for us, play for no one. And the indications are, at least for now, that that's what the Packers intend to do with Aaron Rodgers. Now, you can maybe pull that off with a position player. It's hard to pull it off with a quarterback. If the quarterback truly doesn't want to be there, we went down this road with Deshaun Watson just a few months ago, before Deshaun Watson's world dramatically changed. The idea that if the quarterback doesn't want to be there, it's one of the reasons why the Bears didn't try to trade for Carson Wentz. He didn't want to be there. You don't want someone at that position, the most important position on the team, who does not want to be there. And the Packers continuously have treated Aaron Rodgers like a blue-collar worker when he truly is a white-collar worker. We say this all the time, at least I do. You can't expect the quarterback to be the guy who is the person who holds teammates accountable, shows up early, stays late, studies films, grinds, and sets the example and does all that stuff necessary to lift the team. And then when it's time to treat him like he's a member of management, say, hey, just go punch your time card and we'll worry about running the business. And I think that attitude has always been present with Aaron Rodgers by virtue of the fact that they traded up last year to get Jordan Love. They're planning for life without Aaron Rodgers. So he is planning to seize this situation. And he is. And we'll see how it plays out. Because this may be, and I saw Ian Rappaport point out earlier today the idea that David Dunn is Rodgers' lawyer, and David Dunn was the one who was involved with Carson Palmer when 10 years ago he essentially quit on the Bengals, and the Bengals said, go ahead and sit. And it wasn't until an opportunity arose to fleece the Raiders that Carson Palmer's career restarted. Well, if that opportunity didn't arise 2 days before the trade deadline, Carson Palmer would have been out all of 2011. And then what happens in 2012? Who knows? That's what Aaron Rodgers may be looking at, because I think the Packers, Myles, far more likely to treat Rodgers the way that the Bengals treated Palmer. You want out? Too bad. We have a contract with your name on it, and we want you to honor it.
I find it really interesting that that's how they're going about it. And there's a part of me that really understands why, just from the management standpoint. Look, you have one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and he's under contract. Why would you want him to just be able to let himself essentially choose, no, I'm done here, and this is the way it's going to be, and that I'm going to help pick my destination? I get from their standpoint why they don't want to do that. But I also think it's interesting, if you just look at the last couple of years and these top guys that are quarterbacks and what's kind of gone on around the league, it's more and more, it seems like there are just a lot of guys, a lot of veteran guys who are starting to get disgruntled with the management situation. And they're not always under contract. I mean, Tom Brady is obviously the greatest example of this. He leaves the Patriots, he goes down to Tampa Bay, and he wins a Super Bowl. You can look at somebody like Phillip Rivers, right? He leaves the Chargers after decades there, and then he decides he still wants to play. He goes to Indianapolis, and then they make the playoffs. Matthew Stafford, another guy, he doesn't want to go through another rebuild, so he helps them engineer a trade to the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, it's very interesting, right? I mean, you brought up Carson Wentz, but that's another guy that didn't really want to be where he was anymore, so they facilitated a trade to get him out. So it's just interesting to me right now. What is going on with all these different QBs and how they see themselves and how they feel like there is some power that they can use and then use this leverage that they may or may not have in order to start getting what they want and starting to be where they want to be.
At some point this weekend, I'm going to write something that looks at all the teams that Tom Brady has screwed up psychologically by what he managed to do last year by going to Tampa Bay and winning a Super Bowl. And the Packers are on the list. The 49ers, I think, are on the list because they could have had Tom Brady. And I think this desperate move to go up and get Trey Lance or whoever they were going to get before they took Trey Lance was a reaction to the fact that they could have had Tom Brady and they decided not to, that Brady wanted to play for them, and they said, no, thank you, and look at what they could have had. So the Packers, the Seahawks, the 49ers, there's probably a few more that have been screwed up by what Tom Brady did. But with Rodgers, the Patriots, obviously, and look at what the Patriots are doing now. They're going all in because why? Tom Brady's coming to town. The prodigal son's coming home, and you're going to be the fatted calf that gets slayed when he shows up with his new teammates because his team's better than yours right now, which is one of the reasons why they went out and spent all that money in free agency. But with Rodgers' contract, because I think that ship has sailed now. I think that at this point, they're not going to give him the kind of security that he's looking for under this threat, under this sense of duress. I'm told that it wasn't just security he was looking for. He was looking for what objectively he deserves. Best player in the league should be paid accordingly. Sims and I have said this multiple times, $33.5 million a year for Aaron Rodgers. That's Jared Goff money. That's Carson Wentz money. That's a slap in the face to Aaron Rodgers. Now, look, he'll have plausible deniability because he's not the one doing the negotiating, but the highest paid quarterback in the NFL was on the table at one point. Now, that may have just been a negotiating point, and you work off of that, but it's not unreasonable for Aaron Rodgers to want to be the highest paid player in football, and that definitely would have created a situation where the Packers were bound to Aaron Rodgers. And that's how you show him that you have seen the light. Sorry, Aaron Rodgers, we screwed up last year. We shouldn't have drafted Jordan Love. That was wrong. We value you. You've been loyal to us for all these years. You've said time and again you want to finish your career with the Green Bay Packers. That means a lot to us. We're going to pay you accordingly. And oh, by the way, we don't have an owner into whose coffers the profit flows so he can go buy a super yacht. $70 million in profit last year for the Packers. It just goes right back into the business. Well, why not pay him $45 million plus one to put him ahead of Patrick Mahomes? That was their chance. That chance is gone. And I don't think it's all that controversial that he would have wanted to be the highest paid player in football. He was the best player in football last year.
Oh, certainly not. Certainly not. Look, I mean, he is the guy that many people, at least I say many people, I'll at least speak for myself. He's the guy that I thought has been the best player to ever throw a football until Patrick Mahomes came along, right? And so I think, especially when you see what he did this year, he still has it, you know? And he's still, I think, got some really good years left of football left in him. So when he's going out there and he gets that second year with his head coach and he's more comfortable in the offense and he understands the things that they're trying to do that much more, and he's got guys that he's so comfortable with, like Devontae Adams out there, it makes a lot of sense that Rodgers was still playing at this high level. And so I think that if you're the Packers, it's almost just hard to admit that you made that kind of mistake, you know, that you should not have traded up to go get this quarterback that you couldn't even use as a backup last year. And I think that that's something that's kind of important to remember. Look, Jordan Love was not the backup QB. They know nothing pretty much about how good or bad Jordan Love is. And if you've got this much of a mystery, and now you have Aaron Rodgers out here talking about the things that he's not talking about them, leaking the things, I suppose we should say, that have been leaked over the last couple of days. This is a huge mess. especially like I said, you just don't know what Jordan Love is. And you tried to do this thing with this bet and it's not working out for you. And I don't know how you solve that. I really don't.
Yeah. And I was told yesterday that if they do trade Aaron Rodgers, the idea is they go forward with Jordan Love. And I think at this point they have to see what they have in Jordan Love after they gave up what they gave up to get him and also sacrifice the ability to get guys that can help them get to the Super Bowl and win it last year. You have to see what you have in Jordan Love. But who knows what they have in Jordan Love. And it's okay to admit you were wrong. It was okay to dangle him and trade him. It's okay to say, we're all in with Aaron Rodgers. We made a mistake. The worst thing you can do when you make a mistake is double down. It feels like the Packers are more inclined to double down than they are to mend fences. And so here we are. What happens? Rodgers could retire. He would owe $23 million in signing bonus money that he has yet to earn, plus $6.8 million roster bonus that he earned earlier this year. Sometimes the payment comes later, so they just wouldn't pay it to him. But he's looking at almost $30 million to walk away. That's a lot. And he'd give up $14 million in salary this year if he doesn't play. That's not insignificant. You have other fines and punishments if you do stay away. If it comes down to it and he does what Deshaun Watson was believed to be ready to do with the Texans, it could happen. The jeopardy angle is out there. I want to run this one by you, Myles, because we exchanged a text message or two on this point. One of the reports floating around out there, and I think it came from Ian Rappaport, the idea that, hey, Rodgers can just go host Jeopardy and walk away. Well, it's awfully presumptuous, isn't it, to throw that out there? I know Aaron wants it. He's not bashful about saying so. But it's very presumptuous to just assume you're going to get it. And at what point do the Jeopardy people look at this and say, number one, we really don't like being pawns in the middle of this, back and forth between Rodgers and his team. It's unseemly. Number two, you are being a little presumptuous here, Aaron. We haven't offered you the job yet. Number three, we see how this relationship between employer and employee is unfolding for Rodgers and the Packers. May not be an employee that we want to deal with for the next 20 or 30 years. Because if the Packers are having these issues with this guy, who's to say we're not going to have issues with this guy? And I hearken back to a comment that Shireen Williams made yesterday that I won't repeat verbatim, but
I will.
It's kind of like, well, but what's the saying is, and I, it's the word where you can say both halves. You can say ass, and then a few words later you can say hole. If you run into one of those people, you've run into one of those people. If you run into one of those people all day long, you're that person. So if you can't get along with one person, there's somebody that you can't get along with. You can't get along with anyone, you're the one.
Yeah, well, I believe what Shireen said, and I agreed when she said it yesterday. I was watching the show, is that he doesn't even really get along with his family. So how are they really expecting to be able to get along with him? And I think that was somebody tweeted this too. This guy probably doesn't seem to talk to his mom very much. And you think you're going to win a standoff with this guy? If you're the Green Bay Packers, it's probably not the best idea. But I do think that you are absolutely right that they're being a little bit presumptive right now. This whole, he can go and host Jeopardy. Who's to say that he was been the best Jeopardy host that's been out there, right? I mean, hasn't Ken Jennings been sort of the favorite to take over for Alex Trebek throughout the entire thing? And I know that they're going to continue to get more people in there throughout the summer. LeVar Burton is another guy that's been really campaigning for this thing for Jeopardy, and now he's going to get the opportunity to host it. We'll see how good he is with this. So, yeah, there's no guarantee that Aaron Rodgers is absolutely going to be the host of Jeopardy, whether or not they think they're going to bring in a new audience. I mean, it was cool to watch Aaron Rodgers on there for a couple days, and I think I maybe watched 2 or 3 episodes, but that's not going to make me tune into Jeopardy just because I want to see Aaron Rodgers. Like, the people who watch Jeopardy are going to watch Jeopardy. I don't think you're going to bring in that much of a new audience just because Aaron Rodgers is there.
Look, everyone's going to take the high road and say all the right things, but I will suggest something here, and I don't know what actually happened, but when you're there for 3 long days, day of rehearsals, stressful, anticipation, etc. Day 1, 5 shows, long-ass day, stress, etc. Next day, long-ass day. At some point, they're going to see your best. At some point, they're going to see your worst. I don't know what they saw, But my point is this. To get back to what you said, it's awfully damn presumptuous to just say, well, I'll just go host Jeopardy and I'll retire. Okay. We should probably talk to the people from Jeopardy before we come to that conclusion. And again, the people from Jeopardy may be watching this very carefully saying, let's see. Didn't get along with this. Didn't get along with this. Remember when they did the 60 Minutes profile? And one of the storylines was he's really sensitive and his teammates were making fun of him. And then he complained about it. And 60 Minutes issued a statement. He's proved our point. He's so sensitive. He's sensitive about being called sensitive. So that's just a reality. And I know that the Packers fans out there still blindly loyal. I don't know how much longer that's going to last, but still blindly loyal to Aaron Rodgers. And Myles, to kind of put a button on this, it's at the point now where this guy has to tell us what he wants. He's not afraid to tell us he wants Jeopardy. He needs to tell us what he wants professionally. It's getting a little ridiculous. It seems a little childish. Come out and tell us what you want. Don't give us beautiful mystery. Don't give us ambiguity. Don't go on any program where you're going to be treated with kid gloves. Sit down and talk to somebody who's going to ask you real questions and give real answers. That's my request of Aaron Rodgers.
I think that Aaron Rodgers will go on what he wants to go on, and then he will say what he wants to say, which is not going to be very direct. I'm agreeing with you because, look, I don't think it's going to be clear and direct. It's going to be this stuff that he has done years and that he's going to continue to do, and then he'll just say that he doesn't like you when you interpret his words.
And just like he's done so far in the draft, the Aaron Rodgers storyline has hijacked the first segment of the show today.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.